Sports for Real with Coach Hall. Well, it's official now. Jim Harbaugh is now the new head coach of the LA Chargers. I almost said San Diego because that's the way I know the Chargers as the San Diego Chargers. But, I'm going to modernize and say the LA Chargers. Am I surprised? Absolutely not. Primarily because Harbaugh has had his issues with the NCAA. Yes, he won the championship this year. But if you recall, he started the season suspended. Then he finished the regular season suspended. It was all pointless if you were going to let him come back and coach in the postseason, which they did. They won the Big Ten championship after beating Ohio State for the third straight year. Then they went to the playoffs and they won those 2 games and they became the national champions. After a long time, and it's actually the first time that Michigan was in a position to win the championship because they've been to the semifinals before and lost. They win the championship, and there's nothing else for him to do. So with all the pressures that he's getting from the NCAA, what is the point? So the question is, now that Harbaugh is gone, what will the NCAA do? Will he still continue to harass the Michigan program? Who knows? Now, some possible replacements that are floating around is that Sharon Moore, the guy who, filled in as the temporary coach while Harbaugh was out, he's a leading candidate to take the job. I'm also hearing Mike Hart might be a good replacement. But at the same time, when you think about it, in the day of crazy alignments, what if Urban Meyer was to put his name in to be the head coach at Michigan? Sounds ridiculous, right? Not really. In this day and age where players switch to their rivals to play college football, in this era of NIL, is it so far-fetched to believe that a guy like Urban Meyer couldn't be the coach of Michigan? Will it be accepted? Probably not, but it's something to think about. Speaking of being accepted, my alma mater, FAMU, a couple of weeks ago, the AD wanted to hire this guy, Sean Gibbs, who's a head coach with very little experience. Well, once the alumni base found out about it, they raised holy hell. Not only because he didn't have a whole lot of experience, but they had an altercation at halftime on the field with a team a couple years ago, A&T, and Mr. Gibbs had a part in that. And because of that, fans have a long memory. So once that name came out, it brought up memories of what took place. I mean, several players were suspended on both teams, and FAMU lost their defensive coordinator for that afternoon. But the thing about it is, the effect of it all was detrimental. A very big change, because at the time, the home team did not stand on the sidelines with the press box. Our sideline was right in front of the student bench, away from the press box, and it presented the opportunity for teams to cross at halftime because the locker rooms are situated like that. And that's how the incident was able to unfold. But the guy Gibbs, he was a part of that. Somehow he didn't get suspended. I don't know why he didn't, but they remember that. But the update to that now is that they have 5 candidates that are interviewing for the head coach position at FAMU. They're keeping that list a secret, but the players, they still want assistant coach James Colsey to take that position. I don't think Colsey is going to get the position because, again, these people have a high way of thinking about themselves. They feel very entitled, and kind of like the folks at Michigan, they won't accept just anybody who comes in to be their head coach, regardless if the guy's qualified or not. If you're not accepted by the fan base, it's just going to build and build and build, and every time you lose a game, it's just going to get worse. So I think it's a good idea that the AD, Tiffany Don Sykes, kind of listened to the Alumni Association somewhat and open the search back up because it'd just be better off for everybody. But as far as the other coaches out there looking for a job, you got Pete Carroll. I don't know if he's going to come back or not, but rumors have it that Belichick just might be the next new head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And with that, the question is raised about, what about Cam Newton? He's been vocal in saying that, not that he has to return, but he would like to play for the Falcons. So if the Falcons were to reach out to Cam Newton, would he still get that invite if Belichick was the coach? He won't speak on it, but I don't think that he will. But that'd be something to keep our eyes on as we move forward through this coaching process. But we got the NFL Conference Championship games this weekend. Got a lot to say about that. I'm going to break it down a little bit, but that's for a later time. But as of now, this was just to report that Jim Harbaugh is the new coach of the LA Chargers, and what will Michigan do to replace that large presence he left in Ann Arbor. Until next time, this has been Sports for Real.